Okay, good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of council to order Tuesday, December 9th, 2025, 6 p.m., Council Chambers, Town of St. Mary's. We are broadcasting live on the Town of St. Mary's YouTube channel. The Council for the Town of St. Mary's acknowledges with gratitude and respect that we're gathering on traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse, giving thanks for all creation. I'll begin this evening by asking for declarations of peculiar interest, starting with Councillor Craigmile.
None.
Councillor Edney.
None.
Councillor Luna.
None.
Councillor Pridham.
None.
Councillor Allward.
None.
And I have none. Councillor Lucas sends his regrets for this evening. The agenda was circulated. Are there any errors, omissions, or problems with the agenda? I will ask council if we can just move a couple items ahead. If we can move 8.2 and 8.3 ahead. So the third item under the 8s would be the deputy mayor appointment. Is everyone okay with that? It's just to allow our treasurer to be involved in the discussions. Okay. So anything further? So I'll seek a motion that the December 9th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be accepted as amended. Is someone willing to move that? Councillor Craigmile moves. Councillor Edney seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Item 4 is the public input period. I've received nothing. I'll defer to our clerk. Was there anything submitted? We have nothing submitted. So item number 5 would be delegations. This evening, we have Mark Bow from the Ontario Clean Water Agency, who has presented several times, and I believe Susan Budden is in the background. If there are any technical questions, they'll be joining us virtually. Welcome, Mark. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Your worship and members of council, I am pleased to present 2025 third quarter water and wastewater operational reports for the town of St. Mary's. With me tonight is Business Development Manager Susan Budden. I'm going to start with the water report. During this quarter, staff took over 130 bacteriological and chemical samples, and one adverse water quality incident was recorded. In response to the AWQI, staff followed provincial guidelines by resampling the affected location, as well as sites upstream and downstream. All lab results returned good, and the incident was determined to be the result of lab or sampling error. The major maintenance completed for the water system this quarter was at well number 2. The shingles were replaced upon the roof. At the reservoir, some internal plumbing work was completed. In the distribution system, the Elgin Street reconstruction job was completed. A fire hydrant was replaced on James Street South. And other than a few internal plumbing issues and water shutoffs, there was nothing to report. Do you guys have any questions regarding the water report?
Okay, thank you. Any questions regarding the water report? Okay, none so far.
Okay, I'll move on to the wastewater operational report. The wastewater treatment plant operated effectively throughout the third quarter. During this period, the facility recorded 2 daily exceedances and 1 monthly exceedance of total phosphorus. These exceedances were attributed to industrial loadings. Staff responded promptly to each event, implementing corrective measures to restore compliance. To date, flows at the wastewater treatment plant are operating at 69% of its rated capacity. This represents a reduction from 91% in the first quarter and 79% in the second quarter. The major maintenance for the third quarter at the wastewater treatment plant can be seen on page 4 of the report. The major maintenance that occurred was the steam boiler inspection and repairs, clarifiers 3 and 4, sandblasting, painting, and new weir plates were installed. For the waste activated sludge building, some piping was repaired. And 3 sump pumps were replaced at 3 separate buildings at the wastewater treatment plant. Other than some phosphorus issues in August, the wastewater treatment plant performed well over the quarter. Do you guys have any questions regarding the wastewater report?
Okay, questions from council? Councillor Craigmile?
Thank you, Your Worship. So, Mark, would it be correct in thinking that the dry third quarter directly impacted the total flow through, dropping the,
Absolutely. It was compared to even last year. I think last year we had a torrential downpour. I think it was every week or every other week. As you can remember, the golf course was flooded. So yeah, this year was we saw quite a difference in the amount of precipitation, and the flow was reduced.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further from council? Okay, thank you for your presentation. I must say, Mark, I like your background a lot better than Susan's. No offense, actually, but wishing you both the best for the holiday season. Thank you for your work today.
Yeah, I'm doing this report from the Queen Street Bridge. Merry Christmas to everybody if I don't
Thanks
see
very
you
much.
before then. Thank you.
Okay, so the suggested motion would be that the delegation from the Ontario Clean Water Agency regarding the third quarter report be received. Someone going to move that motion. Moved by Councillor Pridham, second by Councillor Lunar. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 6 is the acceptance of minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes from November 25th and December 2nd. Are there any errors or omissions or problems with the minutes? Okay, seeing nothing, I'll seek a motion that the following meeting minutes be approved by council, November 25th, 2025, regular council, and December 2nd, 2025, special council. Someone want to move that? Moved by Councillor Allward, second by Councillor Pridham. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Moving on to item number 7, correspondence. At first, we have a 7.1 letter regarding Bill 68 from the UTRC. Anyone have any comments with regards to that correspondence? Councillor Luna?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering if we're going to hear Councillor Craigmile's opinion of it and what he's thinking.
I do have an opinion of it. It's, a lot of it is based on unknowns. I'm not saying that moving down to less conservation areas is a bad thing. There may be consistent regulatory issues with them amongst all 7 versus the number now. However, if I'm thinking that reducing them might reduce costs, my experiences tell me that hasn't happened in the past, and probably costs will go up. I can say that for one thing I do know, if you look at Upper Thames joining with others, I think 2 or 3 of the others that they would be joining with are unionized. So how do you join non-unionized? So I see lots of potential issues. I think my biggest concern with what I'm seeing is there's so many large municipalities there that I think a smaller, although we don't get to say too much as far as the budget goes on the, because of our weighted averages, we'll have no say at all at the table, and it'll be run by the major cities. Because you don't know who's going to be on the board. So there's so many unknowns. I haven't made my mind up one way or the other, and all the information's here for everybody, but I think a lot of the people on the board think it's not a good thing, and I'm thinking I see some potentially good things, but a lot of potentially bad things, so I'm kind of on the fence.
There is a session on Friday, and I'll be attending along with Mr. Brower for an information session and so forth, but everything I've read, to Councillor Craigmile's point, there are a lot of unknowns. Yeah. So,
Well, thank you, Worship. I'm just wondering about this resolution that, is the thought that we should support it? I'm thinking we should, but
I mean, that's up to you. You can support it. I mean, you put it out to see if council would support it. I'm open to Councillor Pridham.
I really don't know enough about it to be able to put a motion forward. The one thing that I read here that kind of bothered me was that local offices and existing staff levels must remain to preserve local expertise relationships and responsiveness. So they're declaring that they want to keep their entire staff without knowing how this is shaking down. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to support something like that without knowing how it's going to play out, so.
I just defer to our clerk for a second about the resolution, just so it's clear.
Thank you. Through Mayor Strathzy to Councillor Luna, we are just beginning to see some copies of motions that are circulating around the province. So far, they are not in support of this. So I can begin to forward those on to you just so that you're aware before you maybe move down the path of supporting. Yep. So as Mr. Kittmer was stating, conservation authorities have come out with saying that they're not in support, but I am beginning to see some municipalities that are also stating that they do not support at this time. Minimal, one or two, but that is just starting to come along now, which does take some time.
Councillor Luna?
Thank you. So could I ask that we relook at this, a motion in the future? I think it said before the election, this will come into place, so we've got some time. Whether, disagreeing with it will do any good or not, but still, we need to have our say.
Yeah, I think the key is there's a bunch of unknowns, and we can certainly have staff report back with the information.
Yeah, I think that's the key point, that municipalities are just first hearing from the province about this on Friday. So the mayor is going to attend a meeting where the Ministry of Environment and the minister will be there with their CEO of Conservation, who's going to explain what this means. And I would offer, at this point in time, if you were to ask me what my recommendation for council is, I would have to say I don't know, because of those unknowns. I think my opinion right now reflects the same as Councillor Craigmiles. There's actually a lot of good proposed, standardizing regulations and standardizing approaches so that the determination of what dry access is in the ABCA would be the same as what the interpretation is at the UTRCA. There's a lot of really good and a lot of ideas for making CAs more efficient. And then a lot of, I guess I have to say, a lot of what the CAs are putting forward is, the very typical protectionist kind of opinion when amalgamation is suggested. So I wouldn't want us just to blindly support this without knowing really both sides of it.
But I think, to your point, Councillor, and I think we can revisit it whenever you want. Once we know more information, I mean, we haven't even seen the bill yet. Once there is more information, I think that there will be time for discussion. Anything further? Okay, so I'll seek a motion that the correspondence from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority regarding Bill 68, Schedule 3, and ERO posting 025-1267 be received. So I'm willing to move that motion. By Councillor Edney, seconded. Councillor Pridham. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Under 7.2, we have yet another letter from Rob Flack regarding Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. Any comments, questions with regards to this correspondence? Again, I think it's a lot's to be determined. I certainly can't keep up. Mr. Kittman, is there anything?
Oh, I think, so it hasn't been our practice in the last little while to put every single ministry letter in, but there is a lot of change to regulation right now that is impacting people. So this one is just now telling us that this minor amendment process is now operationalized, so that if planning staff receive an application that is less than 10% of, asking for, say, a 10% reduction in the side yard or something like that, that would normally go to committee of adjustment. Now it's approved as a right. So we wanted to make sure council is aware of that. Speaking to Mr. Brower, this isn't something that we would weave in and embed in our new zoning bylaw that we're undertaking to update. Just because if it's ever rescinded, then it would be in there. But this is just now something planning staff know, that if they receive an application and it looks like it's less than 10% of a variance they're asking for, that they just have to say it's approved and they don't have to go through committee process.
Okay, any questions, comments? All right, so I'll seek a motion that the correspondence from Minister Rob Flack regarding Bill 17, Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act, and further action by the minister be received. So I'm willing to move that motion. Moved by Councillor Craigmile, seconded Councillor Alward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so we'll jump down then to, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, to the WSIB surplus distribution as our first report, and our treasurer, Mr. Steckley, is with us. Welcome, Spencer.
Good evening. Through your worship, the report before you provides an update on the WSIB surplus distribution. As council is aware, WSIB has been in a strong financial position over the last few years with lower than expected claims cost and strong investment performance. So as a result of this, the Schedule 1 insurance fund, of which the town is a member, accumulated a significant surplus. WSIB committed to returning this surplus to eligible employers through 2 rebate phases. The town received the first rebate back in February, totaling just over $61,000. And WSIB has now completed the final redistribution, and the town has qualified for an additional $249,717, which represents approximately 61% of the town's 2024 premiums. Earlier this year, council approved transferring the initial rebate to the healthcare benefit reserve. And consistent with that approach, staff are recommending that this additional rebate also be transferred to that reserve. This would increase the reserve balance to support future human resource initiatives, such as the salary market reviews and other employee-related projects, helping to mitigate future impacts on the tax levy. And I'm now happy to answer any questions you may have with regards to the report.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council? Councilor Luna?
Thank you, Worship. Spencer, $347,000 sitting there seems like a lot of money. Can we redirect part of that to somewhere else, like 14 Church or something? Like, I just don't know what human resources initiatives and employee-focused special projects really means. And is it a potential $347,000 that we would need to have sitting there?
Through your worship to Councillor Luna, council can direct it as they see fit. Staff are recommending this approach given the current salary review that we're currently undergoing. There's the potential to have an impact that may span multiple years, and having sufficient balance within this reserve could help to offset that cost to the tax levy. So that's staff's recommended approach.
Okay.
But it is possible that we could transfer some of it to another reserve if council sees fit.
Councilor Craigmile?
Thank you, Worship. Spencer, so annually, the town would probably pay around $400,000 to WSIB. And with all this money coming back, it's quite possible in a year or so that instead of 400,000, it'll be 500,000. Therefore, you could take that 100 grand out of that account to offset, so it doesn't have a huge impact on a future year's budget. Is that what am I reading that correctly?
Through your worship to Councillor Craigmile, it can be used for any human resource initiatives. So it could be to offset unanticipated benefit costs, which I think you're hinting to.
Yep.
It could be we could use it for again for the salary market review that we're currently undergoing for any potential changes to the salary bands. It's pretty general based on the reserve fund policy. So it would kind of be at council's discretion as to what those funds would be used for.
So whatever we use those funds for would have a direct impact on the tax levy of, maybe decreasing it, going up as much as in the future, right? So I
Yeah,
think
that
the
would
way
be-
I'm reading it, I think your idea is of where to put those funds. It should be in that health account. Offset, yeah.
Okay, anything further? We did have one year, and I think it was during Brent's time, we did have one year where we had a significant bump a bump in benefit costs. It jumped quite a bit, actually. $70,000 rings a bell somewhere in that neighborhood. I think, Brenda, I can't remember, but it was a big, there was a year that there was a big thing. We had to pull money from reserve to even it out.
Yeah, so I know Spencer's essentially alluding to this. Like, we've always used this for reserve really as tax stabilization, but tax stabilization for projects that involve usually enhancement for staff. So like benefits cost is a great example, right? So if benefit costs go up, then we just bring money in from the reserve and it stabilizes it for a year. We smooth it out. And what Spencer's referring to is we've been undergoing the market review, comparing our salaries against our comparator group. That report will come to council in January, and you'll have decisions to make whether or not you want to stay at status quo or change things like your compensation target. And if that cost has new costs into the levy, again, you could draw from this reserve as part of your implementation plan to stabilize or smooth out tax increases. And then to Councillor Craigmile's point, if there's any other staffing related costs in the future, again, it's typically brought in to smooth out. We don't do it, we've never typically used it for anything like for something special and new for staff initiative. It's usually to smooth out enhancement to the existing program.
Okay, anything further? All right, then I'll put the motion on the floor that FIN 01-2025 WSIB surplus distribution report be received and that the amount of $249,717.75 received from the WSIB surplus distribution be transferred into the healthcare benefit reserve. Someone willing to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Craigmile, seconded Councillor Alward. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, and then we'll jump down to the funding request for Reserve Transfer Canada Community Building Fund. Mr. Steckley, please.
Thank you. Through your worship, the report before you provides an update on the town's Canada Community Building Fund, or CCBF, allocation and a recommended action to maintain compliance with our funding agreement. The CCBF program, formerly known as the Federal Gas Tax Fund, has provided the town with stable, predictable federal infrastructure funding since 2005. If you'll recall, just last year, the town renewed its multi-year agreement with AMO for the 2024-2028 term, ensuring continued access to this important funding source. Under the terms of the agreement, municipalities must spend or formally allocate their CCBF funds within 5 years of receiving them. As of the end of 2020, the town's reserve balance was just over 1.2 million. Since then, we've drawn down the reserve, leaving approximately 163,000 that must be spent before the end of 2025 to remain compliant. The 2025 budget included a small allocation towards the asset management plan, but this alone is not sufficient to meet the required spending deadline. So staff are therefore recommending that approximately 164,000 from the CCBF reserve be transferred to the Aquatic Center renovation project. And staff have been in contact with AMO, and AMO has confirmed that these costs incurred to date for this project are eligible for the funding. This approach ensures full compliance with the 5-year spending rule, reduces pressure on the general capital reserve, and supports a significant community infrastructure investment. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions regarding this fund? Councillor Craigmile?
It's not a question, but I think it's important to get into compliance before the end of the year.
Okay, anything further? Given that, I'll put in the motion on the floor that council approves the transfer of $164,000 from the Canada Community Building Fund Reserve Fund to the Aquatic Center renovation project to ensure compliance with the 5-year spending requirement under the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement. Someone willing to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Pridham, second by Councillor Alward. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, Spencer.
Great, thank you.
Okay, one more item, if council will so humor me. Can we jump to 8.5, the agreement for water and wastewater services? Both Mark and Susan have stayed with us. It's not that I want Dave to go home early, actually. I was thinking more of their time. But Mr. Blake, do you mind giving your report now, if council's okay with moving ahead to that first? In case there are questions for them. Yeah.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this report is brought to council tonight to present a new operations and maintenance agreement with Ontario Clean Water Agency. We've had several chats in the past about bringing a new agreement forward with them, who we've been partners with for quite some time within the community that deals with both our water and sewer systems. The agreement presented tonight is for 3 years, which would cover a period of time from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028, with 2 one-year renewal options that could potentially reach a term of up to 5 years. The big change with the agreement presented tonight over what we've experienced currently is for the past decade, we've been operating under a fixed price contract, so we knew exactly what the contract was going up annually. That agreement worked out, in my mind, very well for the town and the community. But the agreement tonight is presented as a cost-plus agreement. So a couple of differences with that over the fixed price is some of the stuff that used to be included in the fixed price contract has come out, and that's to actually help with transparency, tracking and capital management and asset management. So things like chemical procurement, while it used to be included in the contract as a fixed price, will actually come out of the contract and be invoiced separately. So what that means is we're not, as a town, procuring chemicals and miscellaneous things like that. We're still utilizing our partners with Aqua for the buying power and procurement, but it allows us to identify which chemicals we're using, what those chemicals cost, how much we're using for each process, and we'll really be more transparent on our end about what chemicals we're using, the costs that we're incurring, so on and so forth. So that's really the big thing. The other thing is a lot of like telecommunication stuff, like office phone lines and internet and things like that that were previously within the contract, where we deal with that as a corporation already. We're just going to take that and utilize that outside the contract. So it's really focusing the contract costs down on core services and allowing for improved transparency and asset management and tracking. If there's any questions on the agreement, I'd be happy to answer any.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council? Councilor Edney.
Thank you, through your worship. What does this look like for the administration from our point of view? Does it increase our workload on our end? I didn't really notice it.
Yeah, through your worship to Councilor Edney. So that's a great question. We don't really foresee much increase in workload. A few extra invoices for chemical processing will come through as they're incurred. So if we get a load of alum, we'll get another invoice that we have to process for that payment. But we're really not anticipating much extra staff time in order to administer this. It's really just picking up where we left off, just a little more transparency on the miscellaneous items of the contract, so to speak.
Further questions? Councilor Craigmile?
Thank you, Worship. So Dave, if we know what chemicals they're using, you'll probably be able to backtrack to know when there is a spill, to know exactly what we're using chemicals for this. Is that to help you with your surcharges and things, is that correct?
Through your worship to Councillor Craigmile, so that's part of it. So alum's a perfect example. If we have an industrial discharge to us that's higher strength, we'll go through a lot more alum. So if we see an extra load of alum required every 3 weeks as opposed to every 3 months, we know something else is causing that increase. So it'll actually allow us to be more proactive in how we deal with that. And then the other piece is some processes, the ListTech process specifically, so our biosolids management process is really chemical I'll call it chemical heavy, where it utilizes a lot of different chemicals that have a financial value to them. So it allows us to look at processes and look at optimization more proactively as well.
Okay. Further questions? Okay, I'll put the motion on the floor then. So the suggested motion is to report PW 63-2025 agreement for water and waste services with the Ontario Clean Water Agency be received, and that council approves the draft services agreement as presented in PW 63-2025 between Ontario Clean Water Agency and the Corporation of the Town of St. Mary's for the operations and maintenance of the town's water and wastewater systems, effective January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2028, and that council delegates authority to the chief administrative officer to negotiate such minor changes to the draft services agreement as may be necessary to bring it into final form, and that council authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the services agreement with the Ontario Clean Water Agency when confirmed to be in final form by the CAO. Someone willing to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Luna, second by Councillor Craigmile. Any discussion? Councillor Craigmile.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as this cost-plus contract goes on over the first 3 years, you will be able to provide an overview annually of, you know, or quarterly or whatever. I'm thinking more quarterly, but on the annual basis. So, because on $1 million, 52,000 isn't a lot, but over those 3 years, at least, if it's even at a break-even point and you've gathered a lot of valuable information, then it's good for the municipality. Is the way I'm looking at it.
Through your worship to Councillor Craigmile. So that's the intent, is that we'll, costings reconciled annually. We're hoping to be able to bring quarterly updates along with the delegation reports to keep everyone informed about how we're tracking and trending. And then we'll end up with very valuable information on processes and things like that that'll help us moving forward.
If I can just follow up, and that's going to be extremely helpful for future councils to be able to decide which direction to take.
Ms. Budden, did you want to add something?
For your worship, just in terms of the frequency of reporting, we will provide a quarterly update on the budget. So as Dave mentioned, it does get reconciled annually, but we do provide reporting quarterly, and that will be part of our council package agenda as well. So we can speak to any overages, any budget items that may come in over what we had anticipated. So it's a very transparent type of contract where you see where all your costs are. So.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, anything further? Okay, then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you for your time. All right, so if everyone's still following along, we'll jump back then to the annual deputy mayor appointment. Jenna, did you want to add anything? Okay, we do this every December. If there's any question, I'll open the floor for nominations. Councillor Luna?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to nominate Councillor Allward once again as deputy mayor. I believe he's represented you well in the past 2 years when needed, and represented council and the town very well at public meetings and has done a great job. So I would recommend Councillor Allward.
Okay. Is there a seconder to that nomination? Councillor Pridham seconds. Councillor Allward, will you accept the nomination?
I will accept this nomination.
Okay.
Thank you. Very grateful.
Are there any other nominations at this time? Seeing none, I'll seek a motion that admin 57-2025 annual deputy mayor appointment be received, and that council appoint Councillor Allward as deputy mayor effective December 10th, 2025 through November 14th, 2026. That was moved by Councillor Luna and seconded by Councillor Pridham. I'll call the question. All those in favor? The motion's carried. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Allward. Yep.
I believe that's a record. I don't know if we've had a deputy mayor 3 years running.
Okay, that's great. All right, perfect. So then, I keep bouncing around. I apologize, but I think we have the report with regards to the generator.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this report is presented to council tonight as a procurement award for a emergency standby generator unit for the Pyramid Recreation Center. Not really sure how I ended up with this one, but I'm happy to help. So this is I think my 6th generator project I've delivered for the town as we've worked to modernize the water and wastewater systems. So basically, it's a simple procurement award. Because of the existing facility at the PRC, we actually had the whole project scoped and designed by our consulting firm BM Ross and Associates and their electrical subcontractor or sub-designer. So the procurement award was administered. We do have a letter of recommendation from BM Ross for the low bidder. And then we also had them provide some cost estimates for us as well for site supervision or fieldwork verification as part of the project, as well as a contingency allowance for the project as well. Staff did notice that there was a bit of a bigger spread on this between the low bidder and some of the other bid submissions we did see. We did have a conversation with our consulting firm about that, and there are a number of checks and balances in place to ensure that we get the specification that we required and the project delivered to our expectations. So that includes shop drawing review, site inspections, so on and so forth, to ensure we get the product and the delivery that we're looking for.
Okay, questions? Councillor Craigmile.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dave, you mentioned exactly what concerned me when I looked at it. So when I see 5 bids roughly, $55,000 higher than the low bid, it gets me concerned. So my first question is, did the RFQ, did it spec the size of the generator?
Through your worship to Councillor Craigmile, so the unit was spec'd as well as the manufacturer. So it was one unit that we were willing to accept, and that's because it will align with all of our other standby units. So we have one service provider for annual maintenance and things like that.
Based upon what you just told me, thank you. You got a very good low bid on that project.
Okay. Councillor Luna?
Thank you, Worship. You mentioned manufacturer. Do you know where it was manufactured?
So the unit that was specified is a Summers generator. Summers?
Stratford.
Yeah, Stratford.
It's through which it'll be manufactured in Stratford. Yeah.
Okay, anything further? Okay, if there's nothing further, then I'll put the motion on the floor that report PW 62-2025 procurement award for PRC generator be received, and that council award the design, supply, delivery, and installation of an emergency generator at the St. Mary's Period Recreational Center to Jadens Mechanical Limited for the tender price of $153,341, inclusive of taxes, and the council authorize a contingency allowance for the project in the amount of $10,000 to be administered by staff as may be necessary, subject to approval by the CAO. Someone will move that motion. Moved by Councillor Pridham, second to Councillor Craigmile. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, I'm bouncing around so much tonight, I'm mixing myself up here. So I believe we're going to, I believe we're headed for council reports. So we'll do as we traditionally do. If everyone's okay with that, we'll do council reports, and I'll start down to my right with Councillor Craigmile, please.
Thank you, Worship. So I think where we should start maybe is with the Blue Water Resources. And I'm going to try and be fairly precise on this because it does get very confusing. So I think everybody should keep an eye out for either your BRA calendar. Should get it very shortly. And included in that BRA calendar, I do believe that there's also going to be some update on the IC&I, and I am hoping that it goes to everybody so everybody understands it, but keep an eye out for that. So I think it's very important for the residents, for the residential use, to realize there's no change for 2026. If you're at a residence, you're going to get your recycling and your garbage pickup on the same day if you're a Tuesday in town or if you're a Friday in town. No changes on the residential side, but there is one little change. When you get your calendar, you're going to find there's going to be a few more products you can put in the recycling bin. I think there's some styrofoam going in, there's some aerosol containers, there's tin foil now, there is a, so it's all on that list. So that's starting January 1st, 2026 for that. Major changes to the industrial, commercial, institutional. I believe, I was talking with Jed and Dave earlier, and I believe they started changing some of the recycle bins with red lids yesterday, I believe. Probably still going on. So for all the areas that are not on our residential that producers aren't going to look after now, they're coming to change the lids to red so that they know which bins to pick up, because they can't pick up bins at the same time. That means if you're an ICI, your recycling will get picked up in January, depending on which end of town. It'll be first Thursday or second Thursday. It's a Thursday, it'll be on your calendar, which is a little painful for the town because now they're going to be around again. And it's just taking the recycling on that red lidded bins in a separate truck, which will go back to Blue Water, which will get they'll go through the original process there. So that recycling will not change. It's the same old materials that we've always had. And it is bi-weekly. I think it'll have to get started and see what the impacts are, the downtown core, where they get set out, or what the other small businesses around do. I believe they've came to the town hall and changed ours to red bins. I think they did that today, I heard. So anyways, that's something we gotta look for, but as far as your residents, no change. You're just gonna be able to put some new materials in your recycling. So the Planning Advisory Committee, there was a meeting which I was away and I missed, and it's, you'll notice that in the minutes there tonight, but there's gonna be a public meeting for 236 Queen Street for a rezoning. I'm not sure, Jenna, do you know when that's gonna come to council? Okay, the end of January, so we've got a ways for that. The Upper Thames, mainly the discussion at my last meeting was about what you've got in your package here. And although some of them are don't want to see any change or whatever, but I still think there's probably some good changes to be had. But I am concerned. I mean, I've always thought the costs were high, and I'm not convinced that they're going to go down. And I think the smaller rural, I still really worry about any representation of, of what's going on. Too many unknowns, but we'll find out. It'll be like everything else we hear from the government. I do believe I think the chair of Upper Thames told me he was called to a meeting online, something like at 8 o'clock in the morning. He got told about the changes, and then they released it to the public at 9 o'clock. And they've tried to have meetings to try and get questions, and really no questions. Nobody seems to know. There's a lot of. Anyways, that'll get figured out in the future. Lincoln's and minor hockey, they're both running really good, pretty smooth. I got to put a say out there to the Lincolns. They've had a couple very big wins there, teams above them in the schedule at the top. I think it's Cambridge and Chatham in the two divisions won those games. I think it's Cambridge was 23 wins and no loss, and the Lincolns give them their first loss. So kudos to the Lincolns for for that, and that helps out with getting all the fans out there and people in the seats. Community Liaison Committee, there's a meeting this Thursday. It's at 6 o'clock at night. We've been talking for quite a while about having a night meeting to see if there's any more community members that want to appear. I'll let you know next time if what happened, but you know, we'll see what happens. Anyways, that's at, I think it's at the MOC. Did they arrange that for the MOC, Jenna? Pyramid Center? Okay, Thursday at 6. And that's really all I have. I know there's lots of questions about a couple of them, but I don't have any answers for any of them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Craigmile? Yeah, Councillor Pridham, go ahead.
Just one, when you said there's no changes to residential, does that include apartment buildings, or is there a change to apartment buildings? I thought there was for that.
Unless it,
Maybe not.
in the new regime, I believe if it's a new apartment building, needs occupancy after January 1st, 2026, I don't think they're included, but the ones that are already there are still included, I believe.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, anything further? Okay, thank you. Councillor Edney?
Thank you, Worship. And thank you to Councillor Craigmile for asking that question, because I don't have an update that it wasn't the MOC. So the Pyramid Complex, and I hope some people turn out, because these, Kara does great work putting these presentations together for us, and they're incredibly informative. So that's 6 p.m. Thursday. The other thing I have to report is it's that time of year where we do the Tip O'Neill Award for the best Canadian player in the major leagues, and that's Josh Naylor. And I'll say our very own, because she loves St. Mary's, and she's been so gracious coming here and giving her time, even when she wasn't the MC. But Hazel May is going to be our Jack Graney Award winner, and so that's exciting. She's a great supporter of not just baseball in general, but the town of St. Mary's too. So, and just quickly, the silent auction closed recently, and the Baseball Hall of Fame raised $35,000 in this year's silent auction. So that's very exciting. That just means a lot more engagement as well. And also, Scott mentioned that the announcement of Hazel May as our Jack Graney Award winner did drive a lot of people to the site. So that's great too. And then one last thing, the 4th annual To St. Mary's with Love, arranged by Gwen Ament and Dave Stewart in town here, took place on Sunday. And our fire department, our community worker, there were some great volunteers there throughout the community. They did a great job, but probably the most important thing, if you weren't there that evening, was the inaugural performance of a new boy band that includes our MP, our MVP, and myself as we Christmas caroled. And it was a fantastic event, and it was the largest one yet, 400 people altogether. So, and that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Edney, any questions? Okay, Councillor Luna, please.
Thank you, Worship. The Community Policing Advisory Committee met, was it last month? November, October? And we did we passed the budget, which was brought to council. The health unit, and this is information from a month ago, but there were 2,375 cases of measles in Ontario. The outbreak is now considered over, but 6.9%, I believe that works out to about 150 cases, ended up hospitalized, 12 of which were in ICU, and there was one death of a newborn from measles, from maternal measles. So that whole outbreak used a lot of resources in the province. And Canada has now lost its measles-free status in the world, which is all preventable if people would just get vaccinated. I will grandstand a little bit there. Spruce Lodge, they're just preparing all staff for outbreaks because that's 'tis the season, so to speak. Mayor Orr and I, who is the vice chair of Spruce Lodge, we met with 2 family council members. They now have a family council, and these 2 members are very eager to help the lodge in any way they can. And we talked about potential fundraising initiatives that they might undertake for the lodge. So that's a good news item, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Luna? Seeing none, Councillor Pridham, please.
Sure, thank you. Couple of reports. The Chamber of Commerce had their Business Excellence Awards, and there were 2 nominations, businesses from St. Mary's. Broken Rail was nominated again. I believe this is their 4th year nominated. They didn't come up with the win this year either, but it's nice to be nominated and recognized. And the St. Mary's Cement Plant was nominated as well. Working on the budget that was presented at the last meeting and probably approved at the next meeting. So things are good in the chamber world. There's a business after 5 tomorrow night, and it's at 151 Albert Street. It's where the old Prune restaurant used to be. So if anyone's interested in going, they can go on their website and sign up. Okay. Library board. There's a strategic plan that was circulated for several months through the summer, and they have compiled the results of that plan. And if you look at the agenda from the last meeting, we just had one last week, you'll see all of the questions asked and all of the answers that were provided. So it's just something of interest for anyone that's curious about that. Those comments will be used, of course, when they're looking at their strategic plan. And some updates about the fundraising committee. So the library board approved the term of reference for the funding advancement committee, and that's an overseeing committee for the capital campaign committee. The interest is growing in the capital campaign committee, so they've got a few people that showed up to their meeting, and it seems to be some other people are expressing interest, and they'll probably get more engagement as their next meeting. Now, what else? Oh, the library the CAO presented to the board of directors a kind of a package that they've been working on to promote 14 Church Street and to help present information to people that may be interested in donating to that. The board felt that the package has a bit too much of a corporate St. Mary's feel, and it should have more of a library feel. So they're very grateful and want to continue with the support that the town's communication and media department is helping with, but put a little bit of a library spin on the material as they're spearheading this. And I think also it might help with fundraising, because I think the library, as one of the major stakeholders in that building, will be able to express how and who will be using that service in their own unique library way. So that's something that they will be working on and funneling through to hopefully, I mean, we've got some great media people, so hopefully they'll have great ideas and help with creating this brand. They're not really sure of what the brand will be yet. They're still working on ideas of that as well. But all those things will shake down. This is new and a big undertaking, so they're trying to cover all the bases and do it right from the start. So that is my report.
Okay. Councillor,
questions?
any questions for Councillor Pridham? Okay, thank you. Councillor Alward?
Thanks, Your Worship. All right, so the BIA did meet November 10th, 2025. I delivered a report on the ICNI stuff that we got, the 3 letters we received sometime last month, essentially detailing the red bin lids and the potential changes to pickup times and that sort of thing. There is some concern from the business owners that costs will eventually be passed down to the business owners, but that is something we'll discuss, I believe, next year. I believe Public Works had stated it was late next year. Is that correct, Mr. Kelly, with the ICNI stuff? Recycling?
Sorry, through your worship. So we're going to, once we have those costs back from BRA, then we'll have a discussion at council probably March, May, June? Dave just keeps nodding, somewhere in there. Yeah, spring, summer. So once we get the costs back, we'll have to have a discussion at council, probably SPC, about whether the costs are recouped or absorbed. And then, yeah, and then that'd be a 26 budget discussion.
Excellent, thank you. We had a report from Mr. Kelly and Mr. Redmond regarding the downtown beautification plan. That was a very positive response. I think they appreciate the town's vision, and honestly, because it encapsulates so much of what business owners have been talking about, I think that support comes pretty easily. We did discuss our next soup crawl, which will be Wednesday, February 25th. So if you like soup, get on downtown. It'll be in the evening, and I've heard it is delicious. I'll bring a reminder closer to the time. We had a discussion about our website. We are going to be procuring quotes with regards to a BIA-specific website, as well as RTO4 grant funding. Yes, so we are putting together a grant application to RTO4. I guess there is a new funding stream with regards to beautification, so we are putting it in just to get it in time for before flowers and that sort of thing come up. So other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Alward? Councillor Craigmile.
Regarding the BAA thing and the downtown, a major concern of mine is seeing more recycling going into the waste stream. That's just something that I'm really concerned about. But just on, I think when I read your BIA notes that were in the package, I don't know when they were from BIA, I think you had Angela in there as present and absent.
Oh, I was going to mention that too. Yeah. She was absent. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? All right, seeing nothing then, I will, because I keep messing up my papers, I'll look for the motion that I'm supposed to give here. And here it is. The committee and board minutes listed under agenda items 9.1 to 9.18 be received, and that the verbal updates provided by council representatives on those committees and board meetings be received. So I'm willing to move that motion. Moved by Councillor Luna, second by Councillor Alward. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Item number 10 under emergent business. I have nothing. I have nothing under notices of motion. Item number 12, upcoming meetings. We have January 13th, regular council, January 20th, strategic priorities committee, and January 27th, regular council. Are there any other meetings anyone wants to mention with regards to them? Councillor Edney?
Thank you, Richard. Just reiterating this Thursday at 6 p.m. at the BRC for the CLC committee. And I know there's a lot of people in town who will be interested if we can just get the information out to them. So, and they're very, very interesting meetings. So I find them fascinating.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything further? 9.5. I thought I missed something. Okay, there's two items that are arising as a result of the reports. Thank you, Jenna. My apologies to council that I skipped over. So as a result of the committee meetings, we have two items, 9.5 being the Community Policing Advisory Committee. As a result of item number 5.1, the following motion that council approve the 2026 Stratford Police operating and capital budgets for St. Mary's. Jen, is that what yeah, okay. I'm sorry I skipped over that. That was a recommendation from, they've been here already. That was a recommendation from Police Services. Okay, someone moved by Councillor Pridham, seconded by Councillor Alward. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And 9.11, with regard to the Planning Advisory Committee, as a result of their meeting, that council proceed with a public meeting to consider the application for zoning bylaw amendment Z04-2025 for 236 Queen Street West, as was mentioned by Councillor Craigmile in his report. My apologies, Councillor Craigmile, I skipped over that. So is someone like to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Craigmile, second by Councillor Edney. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you for that. Okay, anything further with regards to meetings or anything else I missed, since I'm skipping all over the place tonight? If nothing, then I'll skip to the confirmation bylaw, that bylaw 67-2025 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this meeting be approved by council. Someone going to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Alward, seconded by Councillor Pridham. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn, that this meeting be adjourned at 7:02 p.m. So I'm willing to move that motion. Moved by Councillor Luna, seconded by Councillor Alward. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for this evening. Merry Christmas, everyone.